Welcome to St. Louis on the Air. I'm Don Marsh. It's time to feature Sauce Magazine's hit list. For those who don't know, the list features what Sauce calls must-try, recently opened restaurants in the area. Joining me in studio are Catherine Claney, Sauce's managing editor, that is, and staff writer Matt Sorrell. Nice to see you both once again.
Good to see you, too.
Matt, I'm going to start with you because I learned a new word in getting ready for this.
Okay, what's the word?
Cidery.
Cidery, yes.
I've never heard of cider. I've heard of cider, but not cidery.
Yeah. Yep, cidery is just a place where they make cider, so easy enough.
So I figured that out, but I've never seen it before.
Yeah, well, actually, we're lucky because we're getting we just debuted St. Louis's first dedicated cidery. There's other breweries around town that make cider, but this is the first one that actually is dedicated just to cider. It's called Brick River Cider Company. They just opened about a week or so ago officially on Washington Avenue at 2000 Washington. And they have debuted with 4 different ciders. They have a Cornerstone cider, sort of a farmhouse homestead cider, and a beer-inspired brewer's choice cider, and a firehouse rosé, and they're all really, really nice. But they don't just have cider; they also have a really nice food program, and so it's an executive chef named Carlos Hernandez, and then Christopher Lee, who's a very famous chef around town, consulted on the menu. So they put together a menu of sort of dishes based on rustic fare from England and France. So things like pork Normandy. They have a really nice trout fillet that I had the other night that is really, really good, outstanding stuff. So well worth a visit.
Cider's been around for a long time, but it seems to be making something of a comeback resurgence or something in the last couple of years.
It definitely has. I mean, it's an age-old beverage for sure, but a lot of people who maybe find beer too heavy or too bitter or whatever sometimes gravitate towards cider. My problem with ciders has always been that they tend to be a little bit sweet for me.
It's almost like boozy apple juice.
Exactly. Yeah. But Brick Rivers actually has a really nice. They're more dry and tart and not terribly sweet at all. So they're very, very nice.
More wine-like than
exactly.
Sugary.
The one I had was that I really liked was the Firehouse Rosé, which is almost like a brut sparkling wine, really.
Is it what we would call hard cider?
Well, it's hard cider in that it does have alcohol. So that would be the reason for that nomenclature.
But it's not cider that has booze mixed in with it.
Right.
It's
fermented
yes.
fruit juice. Yeah.
Okay. Catherine, what have you got?
Sure. So yet another hit list worthy option has opened in Maryland Heights, DD Mao. So this is sort of a space that offers customizable Vietnamese bowls. They're fast casual. It's bright and airy in there. You step up to the counter and place your order. You basically pick your base of either vermicelli rice noodles, plain rice, or salad greens, and then you pick a sauce and a protein, and there's all sorts of different pickled vegetables and accompaniments that come with those. So we really liked the fried tofu and the pork as far as proteins go. The tofu was really nice and lightly fried. It wasn't really heavy and weighed you down. And then the pork was really thinly sliced, but very tender. I was expecting it to be tough when I saw it, but it was actually very nice. But we put the Vietnamese vinaigrette and the fried tofu atop the rice noodles. And like I said, it comes with lots of crunchy, fresh things, lettuce, cucumber, cabbage, pickled veggies. So you get a lot of different textures and flavors to play with. And the vinaigrette was really light and fresh and a little funky. It had a nice balanced flavor to it. And just in case that sounded too healthy, you can they serve it with an egg roll on top, so that was nice. If you want a more filling option, like I said, the pork is really nice. There's also banh mi, which are those handheld Vietnamese sandwiches. And it was really nice. It was a perfect balance of cucumbers, pickles, mayonnaise, your choice of protein again, or also there's a sneaky jalapeno or two that slides in there. And there's plenty of snacks. You could honestly build a meal out of just the snacks. They have Vietnamese egg rolls, like I was saying, that are filled with ground shrimp or pork. And they're crispy and light, and the flavor is really, really concentrated inside those. And then there's also these fluffy bao sliders, which are these like light, fluffy bao buns that are kind of filled almost like a taco. And you can pick your protein again on those, but those are, I think you get like 2 for $7. So they're a pretty good deal. You could order 2 of those or 2 orders of those and be very happy. So a few snacks could easily make a great meal as well.
It sounds like pork is among the staples in Vietnamese cuisine.
That's very true. From what I know of Vietnamese cuisine, pork is definitely a staple. Chicken. There's a lot of, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, I think there's a lot of seafood in Vietnamese as well because it's
I would think so.
Right. Depends, I guess, probably what region of the country,
depending on
for
what
sure.
Region. yeah, but pork is definitely a staple.
And you mentioned they sneak a jalapeno or something. I've always thought of Vietnamese food as being quite spicy when you want it to be.
Definitely, yeah. You can definitely a lot of East Asian cuisines especially come with a variety of different condiments to kind of customize your bowl to your preference, or your dish to your preference. And a chili oil or chili powder is definitely among those condiments. You can definitely spice it up. Yeah.
Matt, back to you. This next one is, I find, most interesting because of the way they serve food. But you take it away.
Well, the next thing I'm going to talk about is Small Change, which is a new bar that just opened up in Benton Park area. This is from the folks behind Planner's House in Lafayette Square. And so full disclosure, this is very near and dear to my heart. I used to bartend at Planner's House for several years, and so I'm very excited about this. So this bar, it has been a bar for years and years. It was actually vacant for quite a while before these folks took it over. So it's kind of a mix between a dive bar, neighborhood dive bar, and a cocktail bar. So they have cans of beer. They have Stag and some other brands. They have whiskey shots, but then they also have a really nice cocktail menu. They have rotating selection of Manhattans on tap. But food-wise, what you were talking about is they don't actually have a kitchen per se. They actually serve food out of vending machines. So you can go and get a bag of Red Hot Riplets. You can get a breakfast sandwich. They have a microwave if you want to heat your stuff up. It's a really fun concept. They've done a really great job with the space. Right now, you can tell where it is because it's on Lynch in Benton Park, but there's a large broken Falstaff sign hanging off the outside of the building. So they are getting that fixed. I'm not sure if they're going to be putting a Small Change sign in there or if they're actually fixing it. It's going to remain a Falstaff sign. I'm not sure.
Any place else you can think of where they have this kind of a format, the vending machine format?
Not in St. Louis, anyway. I bet you, I'm sure probably somebody's done it somewhere, but I think this is the first time around town that they've had a dedicated vending machine menu, yeah.
So you've got to bring a pocket full of change, is that it?
Pocket full of change would be good, yeah.
Bring small change to small change.
There you go.
All right. Speaking of small change, a big change to the menu here, the Simba Ugandan cuisine. That's something quite new.
So St. Louis has a smattering of some authentic African restaurants. We really like this place. It just opened up on in the Olivet U City area. These are Simba Ugandan cuisine is owned by the same people who once owned Olive Green International Cuisine, which sort of offered a more Pan-African selection of food. This time they're really honing in on Ugandan cuisine. Street food really shines here. The house chicken wrap is it doesn't sound like it should be very good. That's not a very exciting name, but it's really, really good. There's tender pieces of dark meat and veggies tossed in this really rich umami-packed sauce. And it's wrapped up into a chapati, which is like a thin whole wheat flatbread. And they're sort of like a tortilla, like an East African tortilla. It's wrapped up and then it's deep fried. So you kind of get this like little handheld, crunchy, meaty meal on the go. It's really, really nice. The Rolex, which is actually a Ugandan street food, that is the name of it.
And also a watch, by the way.
And also a watch. But it's a traditional Ugandan street food that's a thin seasoned omelet that's rolled up in that same flatbread. And so it's a great vegetarian meal on the go. Simba also offers a lot of dairy-free curries. So we've really liked both the beef and the bean versions. And you can pick lots of different sides. They had savory vegetables, sweet coconut steamed rice. So a lot of really nice, very comforting, homey food. And it's also a lot of great grab-and-go options as well.
Are there many African restaurants, if you will, in the St. Louis area?
There are a handful, to my knowledge. And I know I've seen some kind of open and close here and there, but I think there's a handful that have sort of made some headway around here.
The one that comes to mind off the top of my head is Mesgrim over on Grand, which is Ethiopian. There's also, I believe, Baida. I'm not pronouncing that right, I'm sure. Also on South Grand, I believe they're more Moroccan, so North African. But it's definitely not a cuisine that we have a lot of here.
But I would imagine a terrific variety, given the number of countries and cultures on that continent, that it would be all over the place.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's an entire, like you said, it's an entire continent of cuisine, and it's a continent that's had so much international influence over the centuries. So, yeah, I definitely would love to see more restaurants like that make their mark in St. Louis.
And you don't have to bring lots of change with you to Simba, do you? In order
you can if you want.
Yes. But you don't have to use it in a vending machine. Okay, well, those are the new places. They sound very exciting and very, very different. What are you looking forward in the future in the restaurant world?
Sure. So we have recently heard of some new projects that are coming along in the works. One that I'm particularly excited about is Four Hands Brewing Co. has launched or is getting ready to launch their new distillery, which is called 1220 Artisan Spirits. Owner Kevin Lemp plans to launch this brand in April or May with Origin, which is an American-style gin and a complementary 1220 tonic. So they're made to be paired together in a classic gin and tonic. It's a project that we've known about. It's been in the works the past couple of years. Lemp tapped Rob Vossmeyer, who most recently worked at Tom's Town Distillery in Kansas City, to be 1220's head distiller. So they've got somebody with real experience and know-how in there. Four Hands won't have a full cocktail program. There's still going to be the brewery will be separate from the distillery. So the brewery will still have it's not going to offer a full cocktail program, but they will have a few of the 1220 spirits on tap to try. So that's something I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah.
What else is coming along, Matt?
Well, we just found this out a couple days ago. Chef David Burke, who is a fairly well-known chef on the East Coast and has several different restaurants in the New York and D.C. areas, he'll be opening up a restaurant called Grand Tavern by David Burke. And that's going to be in the upcoming On God Arts Hotel, which is in under construction here in Grand Center, and should be opening up this fall. So it's going to be sort of a menu of new American cuisine. He is also going to have a pretty extensive beverage program, obviously, and the whole hotel is really a cool project too. There's going to be a rooftop space, so that's really exciting. And he have a chef of that caliber putting down roots in a smaller market like St. Louis.
Do you have any idea? This may be an unfair question, but do you have any idea what kind of due diligence restaurateurs make before opening up a place? I mean, there are a lot of restaurants and a lot of places where you can drink beer and eat in St. Louis.
I want to say that just my impression, and this is just totally an opinion, I think they do a pretty good due diligence because you're talking like a lot of money to get something like this started, and you have a lot of investors, and a lot of people are had their money and their time hanging on these things. So I think they do a pretty good job of figuring these things out, and obviously it's still a gamble, as the restaurant business always is. But
especially somebody like David Burke with his reputation and his brand already established, I think he's doing definite due diligence to come into St. Louis and bring his brand to our area. So yeah, I think there was definitely a lot of research and market studies conducted for something like that.
There would have to be, and I'm sure most of them do that too. But a lot of restaurants close.
Sure,
the life expectancy of a restaurant is not terrific.
I mean, it's a gamble. It's a tough industry to enter. You have to know exactly what your market wants, and you have to be able to adapt when things change. And so it's definitely a gamble, but I think it's an exciting industry, and people are so passionate about food and drink, and I think more than they ever have been. And so I think it's very exciting for people to enter that.
Oh, sure. Yeah. We've got about 2 minutes left, and we've got a couple more places we can point to.
It wouldn't be a sauce segment if I didn't talk to you about a new brewery, Don.
No.
So
always welcome.
We have two coming. Old Herald Brewing Company in Collinsville, which will also be producing spirits as well under the name Ardent Spirits. They're looking to open that up by the end of the year, but that's very exciting. It's the first brewery opening up in the Collinsville area. And then a brewery opening up in Midtown. Twisted Roots Brewing Company is set to open in the former Six Row Brewing space, Papo's Pizza space, and it was even the home of Falstaff at one point in time. That's right around the corner from you guys. So that is they're actually looking at open spring, right, Matt?
Last I heard, yeah.
Yeah, so they're two veterans in the local brewing industry. Both Chris and Adam have worked in several area breweries, including Cathedral Square, 4204 Main Street in Belleville, Four Hands and Peel. So we're excited to see what they have to offer.
What's going on? We have a minute left. What's going on in Collinsville? The last couple of times we've talked, we've mentioned places opening there, which is sort of new.
It's exciting. Yeah, it's exciting to see smaller towns, like especially I'm from Belleville originally, so it's exciting for me to see all these places that I drove through growing up sort of coming into their own. I've recently been in Collinsville on Main Street, and there's a lot of new things popping up, a lot of new restaurants and bars and things. So we're excited to see another community in our area building up its independent restaurant and drink scene. That's a really cool thing to watch. Yeah,
I always like to encourage people that, and I'm bad about this too, but Illinois is just right over there. It's just over the bridge, and a lot of times it gets ignored people think that St. Louis ends at the Mississippi River, and it really the metro area is much larger than we give it credit for.
It really isn't that long a drive from here to Collinsville, needless to say. Okay, well, I want to thank you both once again for being with us with this month's hit list. Matt Sorrell, great to see you again. Catherine Claney, always nice to see you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Archived versions of past St. Louis On the Air programs are available for download or podcast at stlpublicradio.org/STLOnAir. St. Louis On the Air is produced by Alex Hoyer, Evie Hemphill, and Lara Hamden, with production assistance from Aaron Dorr and Spencer Reed. The executive producer is Mary Edwards. St. Louis On the Air is a production of St. Louis Public Radio, 90.7 KWMU. Thank you for listening. I'm Don Marsh.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to conservation and careful management of the state's forests to make them more resilient and better habitats for wildlife. ChooseWood.com.